My heart is bursting with fear and joy because tomorrow I will run 100 miles. I'm hopeful and I am filled with doubt. I am well-trained and I am undertrained. I am the man my dad raised me to be, and I'm everything he didn't want. Elites do these things with speed and strategy in mind, but my goal is simply to make sure nothing kills me or stops me. My grandfather fought with the land to make it grow food for his family, yet there are 7 grocery stores within walking distance of my house. I'm soft, so I look to find myself on these trails, and at the same time, I hope to completely forget who I am. 2 seemingly opposing things can be true at the same time. The sun can be beautiful, and the sun will burn me. Waves are hopeful, and waves can drown me. Trail running can save me, and trail running can break me. But I think it actually saves me by breaking me. The mountaintop isn't possible for Sisyphus, but it is for me. Tomorrow I will wake up and toe the line, and in a rare moment feel fully alive, whole, capable. Even though I have DNF'd 8 of 9 attempts at the 100-mile distance, tomorrow I will try again.
How was the night before? Did you get good sleep? Were you nervous just leading up to the race?
Yeah, so something that kind of helped me was I tried to frame a lot of stuff around figuring out a way to get Josh across the finish line. I kind of thought of myself as crew and pacer to a certain extent, even though I was also running it.
I'm there with 3 men that I love immensely, and I've got my wife, who we've been happily married for almost 19 years. My guy shooting all these documentaries and all this film stuff is a friend that I'd want to be there anyway, and so it's amazing to have kind of like this extra crew member who's shooting the stuff. My crew chief is, he's been there with me through a lot of them. He's watched me DNF. He knows my habits. He knows my stubbornness of quitting.
Yeah, this one I think the gravity of it was a little bit bigger because Josh did go into it basically saying not finishing is not an option on this one. So that was weighing on probably me, Jeremy, Ryan too, of just this is a big deal for Josh.
It's almost race time. I woke up this morning at 1:15 or something like that. I was planning to wake up at 3:40. And I realized that I was just recounting all the hundreds that I'd done, and I realized that throughout all of this whole lead up, I've been wrong on how many 100-milers I've ran. I'm actually 1 for 9 going into this, so this is not lucky number 9 like I've been saying all along. This is lucky number 10. But I guess that actually I don't think this ever happened. How in the hell did I not know how many races I've ran?
So Alex, Jeremy, Ryan, who was my best friend from high school I hadn't seen in 25 years. We meet at the starting line, and Michael Versteeg is the course director, and he gives us the run-through.
All right, this race is not one of those races you can put your head down, just kind of run. If you've ever run one of these races before, you know a lot of our sections are kind of on trail, off trail.
Pretty cool because I'm a fan of his. I go into this fog at the beginning of every 100-miler, so I don't hear anything that Michael Versteeg is saying, unfortunately.
Again, know your route, there's signs, we can go whenever.
Then we take off. It's the early morning, it's 5 a.m. We run down this long road, and it's wide, it's a groomer, easy to run. You kind of laugh about the suffering that's to come.
Josh has a tendency to kind of go out too fast and be like, oh, this is fun, we're running, we're gonna run on this slick rock, and the sun's gonna come up while we listen to music and stuff. And so those first 18 miles were super fun. And I think in the back of our heads, we all knew we're probably gonna regret that. Maybe we're going out a little bit too fast.
It was good running. If you look at it on Strava, you think, those first 25 miles is good running. I was looking at my heart rate. Heart rate's real high. We're just kind of cruising. We're cruising. It's the Slick Rock, it's Gooseberry Mesa. Coming into mile, 18, I was intentionally feeling nothing and not thinking about my body in a major way.
Whoa.
Hey. I'm just in the zone, kind of. Well, I lost the guys for a little bit. That kind of messed with my head. I think Ryan's pretty far behind, which is a bummer. Jeremy has cornrows. He's like Post Malone.
I
don't know Post Malone. I got a song I can sing for you. Uh-oh. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Cowboys ain't easy to love and they're harder to hold. They'd rather give you a song than diamonds or gold. Lone Star bell buckles. It was time to go down Mondo Z, and that's like this big epic drop. It's 1,000 feet over less than a mile going down.
And, downhill's always hard. But you're thinking about the fact that, 60 miles from that moment, you're gonna have to be coming back up this thing, probably at night.
This is the first moment in the race where something is happening to your body that you know you're not gonna bounce back from.
We read the charts and stuff beforehand, but you're just like, when you actually come face to face with it, you're like, okay, these are some serious climbs, and those are gonna hurt.
It just feels like your body's kind of being taken apart. But again, I'm trying to stay somewhat dissociated. The wheels were still on until I realized I was not looking at my heart rate. I was looking at my cadence. My heart rate was probably running about 172 for the past 5 hours, which is what Koros says is my lactic threshold. This was the first moment where my brain had to start to dig deep, knowing what I had just done to myself. I had just set myself up for a shitload of walking, for a major failure or an immense amount of pain going forward. Metaphorically, it feels like you've gone from this great place of running for 18 miles and you've sort of descended into this dark valley of a hellish, flat existence that is so exposed.
We are currently at mile 25. Weather's great, sunny day, nice chilly breeze.
I can't believe how well I'm moving. I'm so indifferent to this race, but I'm actually moving really well, which feels kind of crazy.
How you feeling?
Is this from Norway? Or
Sure.
from West Texas? Oh, let's see.
Wherever.
Is that mine?
Yeah, let's move.
Wait,
over
that may
here.
not be mine. I don't recognize that.
5202?
Nope. That's
5205.
Oh, that's not even 5205. Oh my gosh.
How crazy is that? How close we are in number. I'm gonna get this wet. And this wet.
Put in some ice in that.
There we go.
How's your nutrition feeling, Joe?
I can't believe it. I've never felt this good this far into a race. In terms of my head and I attribute it to the just eating even when I'm not hungry, just doing the stuff. Also think a lot about Michael Whiteside, and I've thought about his a ton. His is the one that everything was fine, everything hurts, everything's fine, it just hurt. That's one of the man. It's it's hurting a lot, but it's oh yeah, everything can be fine, it just hurts.
Mile 25, my wife runs out, a mile or so with me. Onward we go, and everything's still together. Everything's still okay. I'm still okay. I just, bummed about my heart rate. We walked around to Virgin Dam, which was a bit of a death march, but I'm still running. I built a ton of margin, so I can go real slow, and I can still probably get a decent finish time. So I remember Alex ran a little bit ahead of me. I mean, Alex and I were together by this point, except for that little bit that we were lost on Gooseberry. We'd been together just about the whole time. But he was moving a little bit better at this point, so he ran up a little bit out of sight and got into the aid station, Virgin Dam first. And I think it's because of Candace Burt's advice, that everything is okay. I could just kind of enjoy myself. And I think to that point, I would say I was really enjoying myself. Better. It's hot, and my body feels actually incredible, and my mind feels incredible. I just still don't feel like I have anything to give.
Sure.
So I'm just going real slow. And we roll up on the film crew at a water station, and Salem Stanley. It was cool to run into him. Salem's the owner of Vacation Races, and I learned at that point that Ryan had just had DNF.
I'm definitely seeing you guys at the finish line.
Some old injuries kind of haunting him. But this is where you start to feel the despair, and I think I psyched myself out a little bit. There's this moment where you're with some 100K runners, and they get to turn right, and they get to go back to Mondo Z. And then the 100-milers don't get to turn right. They have to go straight onto a blacktop road and go up Smith Mesa. And where I think of Mondo Z as like this sort of descent into hell, the climb up Smith Mesa is somehow an ascent into a deeper hell. And I just remember looking at the road and just thinking, dear God, this is where this race starts for me. 2 years ago when I ran this race, It was no less than a dozen grown people vomiting on the side of the road going up because you're climbing. It's still very exposed. Before I had even really got going on the climb up Smith Mesa, I had already told myself that it was going to be awful. There was a guy that was up at the top who was literally laying in the dirt, face down, vomiting into the dirt. That means, you know, he's getting vomit, and then he's just dry heaving for a while, and it's on his face. And I'm just sitting there thinking, yeah, I mean, that's normal for this spot. That guy bounced back, and I think he finished.
Josh said, I'm gonna stay here for another 15 minutes, get a cup of ramen. That was at the mile 48 station up on top of Smith Mesa.
I just need to be here. I've got to figure some stuff out, and I'm gonna take my time. And Alex was like, I'm not leaving. You're not gonna DNF on my watch. I was like, no, I can't believe that I'm saying this. I'm not gonna DNF.
I went down Flying Monkey in the daylight. I think Josh was starting to get kind of dusk and a little sketchier.
We're getting toward dusk, not quite there, so still got some heat. It's time to go down Flying Monkey.
Flying Monkey is an insanely steep section of trail. It's only about 1.5 miles, 2 miles down, but the trail is essentially built for Red Bull mountain bikers to like huck flips and crazy stuff like that.
It's absurd. It's insane. At this point, thinking of Bear Lee's advice of don't put quit in the pantry, like he equated it to buying groceries. So do the same thing with quit. Don't put quit in the pantry. But I did start to fantasize about timing out and missing a cutoff and them forcing me to stop. I really wanted that. I started to do some research of like, when do they cut me off at this next aid station? Coming to the bottom, and as I came to the bottom, there was just this overwhelming message in my brain that I had just done nothing. It's really hard to explain. I tried to explain it to Ben with the camera. Like, I just felt like I had done nothing.
It's fucking raw.
What do you need?
I feel like I did something. Felt like I did nothing. We went up. It's probably hard to see. Up, it just took forever. And then a 5 or 6 mile loop, and then came down that, and God, my mind was great. Like, I'm not beating myself up like I usually do. I think I just need to feel like I did something. I don't love this right now. I do know that I'll love it later, that I did it. The math is still in my favor.
I framed houses for a season of life. And when I framed houses, one of the things I loved about it was that at the end of every day, you could step back and look and see that you had actually made some progress. You could objectively see that you had done something. I think about Matt Johnson's mentality, which is one that I wish that I had more of. But even though I'm not jumping around shouting I'm the best, in that moment, there was a tiny spark of feeling tough and feeling strong. In trying to run 100 miles, it was the first time I'd ever looked at it as important. I feel like I was looking at Smith Mesa and that last stretch more as like a metaphor for my life. And just feeling like, God, I'm grinding. You don't always get this gift in life where you get to actually turn around and see it. Get into the aid station at BMX, and the sun's down. I'm behind where I want to be, but I know that at mile 50 it's just going to be walking. But the crew is there, and I think the purpose of a crew in an ultra run is not to try and get water out of the empty well, but I think it's like to dig the well deeper so that I can continue to draw water, so that the runner can continue to draw water out. And at BMX, I felt like a king. And in every attempt in the past, I just never received it well. And at this At this aid station, if you had footage of previous aid stations, you would see me resisting help. You would see me pushing back. And at this one, it was just receiving it because I knew that my wife wanted me to succeed. I believed it. I believed that Matt, my crew chief, wanted me to succeed.
We spent a good amount of time there, and that was basically realizing, okay, it's mile 52. It's already dark. We have not been moving very fast. And we've just got to mentally prepare that we're going to be running for the next 24 hours. And we had already been running for 12 hours. And so that's kind of like a brutal thought. When it actually comes into your brain, you're just like, can I really do that?
Share it with me.
No quitting.
No quitting, no timing out. See you, dude.
So off Alex and I went into the night in search of guacamole, another mesa, and it was, just a death march through the night.
We got out there on this guacamole loop. It was like supposed to be 4 or 6 miles or something. We ended up adding about 2 miles just because we got totally lost. Josh was just like, screw this, dude. Let's just turn off our headlamps and lay down and stare at the stars for a little while. It was like spectacular. It was like probably the most stars I've ever seen in my life. It's just like wandering.
Get back at 5 a.m. I was hoping to be back at 3 a.m. And there was a guy named Sean, who I'd met a few weeks previously when I was hanging out at the Buffalo 100.
See, keep my head right.
Ready to push through the dark a little bit, get these guys to sunrise. That's gonna be the thing that needs to happen here is get them back to daylight.
It's as bad or as it's ever been.
Right.
Or worse, and usually it's led to quitting.
Right.
Like Sean was saying, we're an hour out from.
Yeah, sunrise coming up.
We're an hour out from sunrise. I'm real excited for that.
Good.
He messaged me and said, hey, I'd love to come pace you. I said, hey, I appreciate that. I've got one shift that I need, and that's get me from BMX back up Mondo Z into mile 80 to drag our asses across the Virgin Desert one last time for 5 miles.
It's still night, and you're walking along the road, and you look up and you see this zigzag of headlamps, like just going, all the way up this mesa, and it just like looks, incredibly intimidating.
I mean, to say that I'm over it at this point is an understatement. And then up Mondo Z we go.
We were just like, we're just gonna death march this thing all the way to the end. And death march it was, for sure. And this is when we were like falling asleep. Josh is like veering off the side of the road, just like falling asleep while he's walking.
This is when I started hallucinating like crazy.
Sometimes he has like straight up hallucinations of like a little leprechaun like squatting on the side of the trail. I think that was his first big one.
Every ultra runner should get their first hallucination as a tattoo. My first hallucination was Daniel's son from the Karate Kid in the crane position, standing ready to kick somebody.
Sticks and boulders or whatever basically like morph into animals.
I just thought I was for sure walking up on a family, building a canoe out of a tree right at the foot of their cabin.
That looks exactly like a panther. But I know there's not a panther in the Virgin Desert, so we're just gonna like let that go by.
As soon as that one goes away and I realize it's not there, there's another tree that looks exactly like a dog.
He'd be like, wow, look at the size of that tree. I'm like, dude, that is a bush. And then he'd get closer and look at it and be like, you're right, that is a 4-foot tall bush.
So it's just hallucination after hallucination to the point where it was just wildly frustrating.
What do you have to say about that?
Fuck that.
You guys crushed it.
That works exactly.
We walk into the aid station and Anytime I've ever run further than 78 miles, I've finished a 100-miler, which has only happened once.
I think I can do it, but I don't want to.
You can totally
You can do it.
I
You
can
just
do
gotta
it.
let yourself believe you can do it.
I gotta want it. I want it.
We got to you guys and just like laid down in the dirt.
Take a quick nap. 5 to 10 minutes.
Someone he talked to on the podcast recommended like a short nap. It was awesome. Like, it is exactly what we needed.
And apparently I didn't position myself terribly comfortably. I just remember that 9 minutes really felt like an hour or two. I woke up, rested.
You all set to get moving again?
This is a fucking absurd moment for me in my brain. Saying, hey, I'm gonna see you again. And it's gonna be at the finish, like crossing the finish line. We're notified that Jeremy had hurt his leg and had to DNF. He came up Mondo Z and it was just, something happened and it was over.
What up?
What, buddy?
When I left the aid station at the top, it was just like barking at me. Going a little too fast, and it's incredibly steep. And so I was like kind of pivoting my feet to the side, you know, to not put too much pressure on my calves, and I think that just overworked this front side.
Hearing about Jeremy dropping at mile 80 sucked because we were so stoked for him because he looked so good, just looked so solid. We were like, you're gonna probably get his best time, like all this kind of stuff.
Our first documentary was DFL before DNF, and it was about Jeremy, you know, how to keep going even when the finish line has been torn down. And I felt like this moment of motivation of like, God, he DNF'd. It's my turn to DFL before DNF. It's my turn to go. It's my turn to hang in there. And I'm gonna make Jeremy proud.
If you don't finish that, I'll take a swim.
So we take this really odd 9-minute nap. We slam some Starbucks, canned coffee, and then off Alex and I go. So 9 a.m., 20 miles to go. The cutoff was 5 p.m.
It took forever, man. It's not like I was just like holding back with Josh. Like, no, we both were pretty much digging as deep as we could go. But I was a little bit more stressed out, I think, about like, dude, we gotta keep up the pace. We gotta get sub 20. And Josh was like, nah, dude, we got time. Like, let's just chill.
So we had 8 hours to go 20 miles. Body's barely working. We can smell the barn, but we were also miserable, which is a really funny thing. 'Cause like you know that the end is in sight, but you were also miserable.
Josh said like, I think we got it in the bag. You know, we could slow down even more and we could still make it. And so that was kind of like a big moment of just like, we're gonna finish unless one of us gets injured.
Can't run it all, but we can walk 20-minute miles if we kind of stay focused. It's crazy to walk that slow, unless you really want. I mean, if you tried it right now, you wouldn't be able to do it. But when you've been running this long, it's really easy to walk 20-minute miles.
We're here at the finish line. We're at 34 and a half hours, a 36-hour cutoff. It's gonna be tight.
Alex pulls away a little bit, just a tiny bit out of sight. I catch up with him. He's sitting down on a rock. And he said, we're about to be at the finish line. And it's gonna be so much energy and all of our people are gonna be so excited. Let's just sit and have a moment of silence.
Dude, let's just chill and take it in, you know. And we just kind of sat down and like no rush. Josh was saying we were pretty pissed off at the whole thing all the way up until probably maybe when the drone flew overhead or something like that. We were like, okay, this actually feels real now.
So we're walking up the road. We're letting ourselves complain. We really wouldn't let ourselves complain until that very end.
We're basically just like complaining and just like, this is stupid. Why would we ever come out here? But like for some reason that has a strange motivational factor.
And then we see our kids. We walked it in. We took our sweet time, just enjoying it, looking at the finish line.
Alex and I have been talking that we're too angry and hate this too much to look on it fondly yet. I think we need a shower. At least a couple hours.
I mean, it's a feeling you probably can't describe. It's like, you know, it's like a welling up. You know, it's like almost brings tears to your eyes, and you get the chills, and you're just like, you know, I can't believe like this is all about to come to an end.
JD! It broke my heart when I heard.
I'm proud of you guys. Seriously.
I wish you were doing this with me, man. Almost legit DFL. Thanks, brother. Oh, I hate this.
Seeing his mentality and the different mentality that he brought to this race at all the little spots along it, it was just like a different brain that he was bringing to this race.
There is something to resolve, and I've never had it before. Where I just was gonna keep going. I made the decision before.
I love you guys.
I wish you were with me.
Dude, I'm so proud of you.
Fucking did it, man. I can't believe
We
it.
did not manufacture it at all. We were one person away from being DFL in that race. Alex and I walked it in at 35 hours and 20 minutes.
Yay! Yay!
Thanks, honey.
Hey, that's the finish line. That's Alex, and he and I are about to cross that finish line. I don't even know what to say.
There really are no words. There were some moments for sure, huh?
Holy shit, were there moments.
So let's see both of Alex Horn and Josh Rosenthal.
I used to daydream vividly about crossing a 100-mile finish line. In my dreams, I was running like Zach Miller with Hayden Hawks just behind in striking distance. But here I am walking slower than ever with plenty of time to even hug my daughter before crossing. I'm uniquely happy in this moment seeing all the people it took to get me here. At one point, I would have been ashamed that it took so many people and so much love to compel me further. But this is ultra trail running's great gift to me. It's not fitness. It's external and objective proof that I am capable. It's an energy I can tap into anytime, any day, that makes me better.
Yeah, good job.
And I still think I can do this course in 24 hours.
Even just looking at this stuff and thinking about the Zion 100 miler just feels like, God, is this really the stuff that can do it? But this is what I've picked. Merrill, of course, the Agility Peak 5s. These were white, but you know, I loved them when they were white, but I also have clearly loved them enough to wear them down. Running in these Path Project shorts, they separate the liner from the short, so you can put stuff in the shorts and the shorts can bounce, but you don't chafe because the liner stays static. It's amazing. Running in a Howler Brothers hat and a Howler Brothers Pearl Snap fishing shirt, if nothing else, to just connect to my Texas roots because Howler Brothers is a Texas brand. It's not a running brand. The Kogala light, it's a big to-do. There's a lot that goes with it. You have this belt on it and putting a battery in, but it will light the path. Ultimate Direction, incredible pack. Tailwind for liquid nutrition to get the 50 grams of carbs per one of these. Then you get another 25 grams of carbs from the Seattle Gummy Hydro Fuel. I'll be taking one of these an hour and about one of these an hour. And then I added some of the salt stick chewables to take every hour as well, just to keep everything intact. I mean, I don't know. This is it. Feels overwhelming.